2024 has been a watershed year for me as a traveler. I visited more countries in a year than ever before. My experiences ranged from great to awful and sometimes occurred concurrently. This video breaks down my journey through 7 African countries. Cities like Nairobi and Accra surprised me, but I fear that when I share my experiences in these cities, you might call for my head. You can expect to experience chaotic and action-packed adventures. Are you ready? You better be. The first country we'll be talking about today is Kenya, with a focus on Nairobi, the country's capital. Kenya is a country that has always been on my bucket list. I was supposed to visit in 2019, but I was on my French grind and I wanted to go to a francophone country. And since then, COVID and other things have stopped this from happening. So 2024 was the year I finally got to visit Kenya. I planned to fly to Kigali and then go by road to Uganda and Kenya to maximize how many places I could visit on one trip. And that was my first mistake. People had always told me that the immigration guys at the Kenyan borders were very corrupt. I should have believed them. I was extorted at the Busia border that Uganda and Kenya share. I'm putting 95% of the blame on the Kenyans because I had been through the Rwanda-Uganda border. It was as smooth as it could be. That honestly ruined my experience. I felt unwelcomed, and me, I'm very big on not going where I'm not welcome. I eventually got into the country after paying that bribe because I had spent so much money to get there, and I couldn't really do much. I always felt scared and unwelcome, so I just eventually did little and went back to Rwanda. But I must give a shout out to my friend who hosted me and their family. Kenyans are exciting and great people, and I am adamant that the experience I had with just unfortunate people at the border does not define Kenyans. I've actually met amazing Kenyan people on the trip, and 10 out of 10 I would always stick up for Kenyans. Nairobi's infrastructure is commendable, actually one of the better ones in sub-Saharan Africa, so shout out to Kenya for investing and maintaining. There are lots and lots of places to be in the city and things to do, but my favorites include anything that has to do with animals. So yeah, Sheldrick Trust for the elephant. There's the giraffe center. The only city I know in Africa that has a actual national park within city limits, Nairobi. KICC, those were my favorites. Kenya Airways, the largest airline operating in the country, but I feel like JKIA having only one runway is holding the airline and the country back. Before we proceed, why don't you take 1 second to subscribe and like this video if you're enjoying it so far. The next city and country on the list is Accra, Ghana. Ghana is the country I visited more than any other in my lifetime. Unfortunately, this time I did not go with a Nigerian bus company. They usually handle all the illegalities. They make sure that you don't get to see whatever corruption is going on at the border. So I went on my own from Lume and I got extorted at the Aflao border. And the extortion was institutionalized. They were like prices that everybody knew. Everybody knows about it. It's an open secret. But after once a year paying it, feeling bad and getting into the country, I do not remember Ghana being this cheap. The first time I came here, it was very expensive for me, but now it's considerably cheaper. So it's either due to the currency going from like 4 cedis per dollar in 2018 to like 15 now. It's either things are cheaper or I was way broker there. One of the above, or a combination of both. Accra is a very wonderful city, one of my favorites in West Africa, but not my favorite. If you are planning to visit West Africa or Africa, this country should definitely be on your itinerary. If you fly in, you will not have to deal with corruption, hopefully. I really enjoyed my time at Black Star Monument, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Pavilion, Black Star Square. I really enjoyed Legon Botanical Gardens, but unfortunately that it was closed down at the end of October. Why? Anyways, let's move on to the next city. My birthplace, Lagos, Nigeria. After spending more than half a decade outside Lagos for university and stuff, I finally moved back to Lagos in 2023, and up to date I still feel like a visitor or a fraud. So I am taking the opportunity to explore Lagos like a tourist, doing tourist things, forgetting that I live here, just doing what somebody would do if they visited the country for the first time. Yes, Lagos has its problem and Nigeria is not really going through the best of times right now, but shout out to the people in charge for investing in rail transport both internationally and in Lagos. I know in the last 12 to 18 months Lagos has opened 2 metro lines, its first 2 metro lines. Unfortunately, Nigeria is not the easiest country to visit. I visited my first share of African countries, and whenever I have friends that want to come over, it's always a uphill battle. The visas are expensive, they are hard to get, and the process is just very disorganized. And I am beginning to feel like the disorganization is by design. For some reason, the people in power do not want others to visit the country. I wonder why. Because there's no reason why a Nigerian visa should be this hard to get. Lagos is well known for being one of the lifestyle and nightlife capitals of Africa, so if you are into that, definitely visit. But if you're coming to Nigeria, I would implore you to always go to Badagry, Slave Town, and learn more about slavery. Watch a live football match, do whatever you would do in any cities, but I would always recommend you to go to Badagry, Slavery Town, to learn about what was done to us. Another city I looked forward to visiting was Kigali. Kigali has become a very popular vacation spot for Nigerians because of the visa-free nature and ease of getting there. I always wondered whether the hype was real, and when I got there, I can tell you without a doubt in my heart that Kigali is sub-Saharan Africa, or maybe the entire Africa's cleanest and well-managed city. For a country that has all the odds stacked against it, Rwanda are really doing something magnificent. I feel like you can do everything there is to do in Rwanda in a couple days, and it can become boring for certain types of people, but the laid-back vibe was perfect for me. The weather was also not bad, but it did rain randomly at times when I was there. You just be chilling and then it starts raining. If you are going to Rwanda expecting regular people that don't work in the service industry to speak English, I'm sorry, you'll be disappointed. The lingua franca is Kenya, Rwanda. Why don't you step out of the city when you visit? You will not regret it. The road network is also not bad. You can watch my videos on Rwanda to see the places you can visit while you are there. If you're still here and you're yet to subscribe, why don't you just take out 1 second to click that button. Cotonou is a city, and Benin Republic is a country that I had transited through multiple times, like at least half a dozen times, but I never really spent a night there. But this year I said that was gonna change. I did not know that Ouidah was that important to the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, Ouidah slave port was bigger and shipped more slaves than the Badagry slave ports. Cotonou is a city worth visiting. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Benin Republic has really invested a lot of money and efforts to make the city worth visiting, and I can tell you that it has become a must visit. But you cannot go to Benin Republic without visiting Ouidah. Ouidah is like the resort town, and there's a lot to do there. Between Cotonou and Ouidah, you can spend a couple amazing days in the country and enjoy a meaningful experience. Lots of places to visit in the city. The Amazon Monument is one of them, but in Ouidah you have the Snake Temple, point of no return. I kind of regret my experience in Lomé, Togo, because it was not planned. Lomé was unfortunately just a stop-off point between Cotonou and Accra for me. I spent most days indoors and it just felt like a big missed opportunity to me. But one thing I love about Lomé is that it feels like a proper coastal town or coastal city. Not many African coastal cities feel like they're actually coastal, but it feels very Caribbean. You can see, smell and feel the ocean from most parts of the city, especially where you be staying as a tourist. So yeah, it is worth visiting. Togo is a very small country. You can go from the eastern border with Benin to the western border with Ghana in less than 30 minutes if you drive at the right speed. I visited the National Museum and I watched a youth football match while also just exploring the city. Unfortunately, the Togolese and Ghanaian immigration and customs worked together to extort me and other travelers, but it is what it is. Kampala and Lomé were quite similar to me. I didn't plan to stay in Kampala for too long, but the time I did stay felt too long because I survived an attempted robbery right in the center of the city, opposite the parliament building. I was like, isn't this supposed to be one of the safest part of the cities? But some people on a border motorbike tried to drag my phone and they were inches away. One thing I loved about Uganda is that it is a very green country. I did not expect the country to be this green, especially as a landlocked country with no access to the ocean, but it was a very green country. And when you get to Kampala, I'm not saying you shouldn't go, but when you get to Kampala, ensure that you try to make out time to go to Jinja. Jinja is like the resort town. Everybody knows what's up and what's going on there. It's a very liberal country in a sense in terms of partying, and the Kampala nightlife is one of the most exciting in Africa. I hope to one day revisit the country to enjoy what Uganda has to offer in full without the bad experiences, but definitely visit. There's a lot to do there. 7 countries, 12 cities, and more than 3,000 kilometers by road. 2024 was an exciting year for me, but every time I traveled, I was more than happy to come back home, because there really is nowhere else like home. If you're planning to travel across Africa, you should consider combining multiple trips into one. Until the next video, your friend from the Ukodo YouTube channel wishes you love, peace, and prosperity. After all is said and done, my favorite city in 2024 was